You're listening to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast, the show with a light-hearted look at the eventing world, all of the big event previews, reviews, and special guests, and of course, backed up with all of the key Echo Rating stats. Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast. Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast and what is going to be the final Event Rider Masters preview of 2019, because this weekend we head to Lignierés in France for leg 6, the series finale, and it is going to be an incredible weekend of competition. We have some brilliant names in the lineup, as we would expect. We're going to talk about all of the chances, and we're going to talk about who is going to top the series podium as well. Delighted to say, have both Derm and Spike. Spike, I'll start with you because you actually logged onto this call as me because I am no longer underwater. I have internet. You are no longer in charge.
I am the imposter. I can still be in charge. I can mess around with it as much as I like.
Oh,
but yes, evening. Very happy. Really excited about this. So yeah, ready to crack on. Let's go.
And Dee, you've been a modern man. You've cooked your wife her supper and you're ready to go.
I'm so afraid of small talk at the start of the pod now. I'm literally sitting here with all my notes being like, don't say anything, just get straight into it.
Yeah, don't worry. I've got like 3 people we've never mentioned before to discuss.
Who are they? Bobby Upton,
Yasmin Bingham,
and other British
Well,
talent.
I'm pleased you brought that up quite so early, Dee, because it was a resounding win from Team Spike over Team Sam at Blenheim. But,
yes,
we don't need to mention that too much, do we?
No, congratulations. Yes, Team Spike absolutely did come out victorious. And I think you took money off him as well, did you?
Well, I'll have to wait and see it actually arrive in the palm of my hand. But yes, at some point, hopefully.
No, we always pay our debts.
Yeah, I would say that actually the Team Spike versus Team Sam, Great Britain versus Ireland Young Guns at Blenheim, was a resounding success because loads of people got behind it on social media. And you actually won the vote on social media as well as the actual competition.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? And it was really nice on site there. A lot of people were talking about it, and the Brits were on fire. They did a super job. Yaz went great, as did Bubby and Phoebe. So yeah, good on them.
Ding, down you shot.
Good to get Bubby and Yaz in the first 2 minutes, and
even though they're not actually competing in the finale this weekend.
Young British talent.
Well, what is it they say that we need to follow up on the results from the previous competition?
We do actually.
There we go.
More review episodes. Let's get into Lignierés this weekend because we have so much to talk about. Not only is it the leg on the podium this weekend as well, but also, of course, the series podium is going to be decided. We're going to talk about that first off in just a second. Now, Derm, this is the part of the podcast where I normally come to you and say, oh, what does it take to win at such and such an event that we're going to? But we can't actually do that in Lignierés because it's the first time they've hosted this level of competition.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to make a wild stab in the dark at what it takes.
Oh, go on, go for it.
So just follow your normal, follow the normal formula, Nicole. You're going to have to do a very good dressage test. So you're looking for horses that can probably be, I would suggest, sub 28. Keep that number somewhere in there. I would suggest you absolutely need to jump clear cross country. I would hazard a guess that you're going to need to be very, very close to the time, if not inside it. And I would hazard a guess that you're going to need to show jump clear. So without wanting to bore listeners, that is a well-worn formula. And it boils down to you're going to have to be good. Very good. What I think is interesting and we'll come on to on this particular podcast is I'm going to just get straight into this, Nicole. If Chris Burton finishes in the top 3, and he is joint favourite on the prediction centre with Quality Purdy, but if he finishes in the top 3, he cannot be beaten in the Event Rider Masters. He will be the double champ. He will potentially be a double champ. He won the leg and series last year. I think he's a hot favourite to win the leg and series again. But the first ever Event Rider Masters double champ, he's taken 20,000 sterling out of the Event Rider Masters this year. He goes here with a chance to add 30 for a series win and potentially another 16. We talk about wanting prize money in the sport. The chance to walk away with £46,000 on top of what his other prize money for the season. That is when you start getting into, very decent big sums of money. He's likely to go late cross country because Quality Purdy's going to do a very good dressage test. Whether they lead, I would question. I would think there's a couple here that might get the better of her a little bit in the first phase. But we know that Quality Purdy is a very good show jumper. I think is it 5 show jumping clear rounds in a row now, including some of the top venues, the Event Rider Masters at Arville and also, of course, Aachen. So I would say you're a fairly sure bet that they should show jump clear. They're going to be somewhere around that 28, 27, maybe even 26 mark, late going cross country. But we did see that dramatic 11 penalties at last time they were at an Event Rider Masters. It's not a million years ago since we saw that even more dramatic 20 penalties when they were on a very good score at Buccalo not too long ago. So not bulletproof. I'm sure we will talk about this as a group in a moment, but I think it's going to be very hard to beat him. And I think it's the course that could beat him. It's the cross-country jumping course is the only thing left, I think, standing in his way of a fairly substantial sum of money walking away here and the first ever Event Rider Masters double champ.
I think realistically, so Chris Burton has 73 points in the bank. His closest challenger is Gireg Le Coz on 68 points, Jonelle Price 67, Sarah Cohen 63. So they've all got to finish ahead of him to even be able to close the gap and then overtake him. So they're going to have to beat him. Chris Burton, for me, actually, I think something has to go wrong for him to not win the series here. I think he should be on the leg podium. But I think in terms of the series, something's got to go wrong if he doesn't take the top spot. I mean, let's just talk about his road to being the series leader coming in here, because he's got 3 counting scores, but 3 very good ones. He was second in Wiesbaden. That was with Lawtown Chloe. He was third in Arville with the mare he brings forward actually to Lignierés Quality Purdy, and 8th in Mill Street with Graf Liberty, the horse that actually he won on in Blair last year. He's used his string. He's got real strength and depth in his string, and he's actually had 3 different horses at 3 legs he's got counting scores from so far, and comes forward with Quality Purdy this time. So he's a little bit different to some of the others that we've seen, Gireg Le Coz, Sarah Cohen, both riding one horse throughout the entire series. He's used his string wisely. Dan, can we just talk about, Echo Ratings have done articles on Chris Burton in the past, and listeners, if you haven't read the article on when he was sort of dubbed the fastest man on turf,
if you haven't read the article, I'll summarize it in one sentence.
But just
go on and summarize it. Is he fast?
He's very, very fast.
Okay, good, right.
But just explain it, because kind of why are we saying that he's fast?
This is almost becoming like the how do you win an Event Rider Masters leg. I mean, there is so many ways to slice and dice this. I would think, even just looking at, let's take the really basic one. We saw it again this weekend with Clever Louis. He hasn't had him that long, and, he's already taken him inside the time to win. Where was it? Blenheim, in the 8 and 9-year-old class, a class which you don't need reminding that has a very good record of showcasing future stars and 5-star stalwarts as well as winners. But even just take a look at his record. He's been inside the time. So last couple of weekends, he took Clever Louis, Kiltown Sherlock in a baby jumps, Lawtown Chloe at Mill Street inside the time, Graf Liberty at Mill Street inside the time. I'm just kind of glancing through it here, and I think there's 4 occasions in the last about 12, 13 where he's actually picked up time penalties. If you look at, pick any way you want. You can pick it as 4-star short. How many riders have won legs based on being inside the time, or how many times Chris Burton's been the fastest rider? He comes out way, way on top. Look at Event Rider Masters. We talk about the different types of tracks and the difficulty of getting inside the time. He's been inside the time on 9 occasions in the Event Rider Masters. I think we're now on, is this leg 24 that we're coming into over 4 series? 9 occasions inside the time. To put that in context, Tim Price is next on 5. And if you actually even take it a little bit further, he's an average of 0.3 time faults from the 12 cross country completions that he's taken on. So he
in
has
the
had a
Event
couple
Rider
of,
Masters.
in the Event Rider Masters. Yeah, he has had a couple of runouts. And you remember that one at Blair, Nicole, is the one that I've been thinking about this week. He was
Polystar, yeah. He was a
big
hot favorite
that day.
back in 2016, I think it was, or 2016, 2017.
Yeah, it was the year I won it.
Whatever happened to that horse, huh?
It won some, the spring spike.
Yeah.
It's hard to call this one, Nicole, in terms of, Lignierés is going to be the first 4-star short. I was having a look at the time at the lower levels and comparing them to the global average and just trying to see, look, is there anything we can see from a venue point of view? And there isn't anything to suggest yet that there is a particularly difficult time or jumping challenge ahead of these top riders.
But it's a different level.
It's a different level, absolutely. But we called this a couple of years ago when we went to Arville for the first time. And we said, okay, look, we did have a reasonable read on the track. Remember, it was about a 50% jumping clear rate. And we said, yes, but we've never had, different quality of field come. And actually, the last couple of years at Arville, we have seen a lot of the top riders still run into difficulty. Lignierés completely different challenge for us as commentary team and data analysts, because we're stepping up to 4-star short for the first time. But we do know Chris Burton. We do know what he's done at every level of the sport. We do know quality Purdy. There is the excitement and the potential. There is the chance. Talking about chance variation, it is a low chance, but there is a chance, and that's what brings excitement. Everything points to Chris Burton and quality Purdy going inside the time, and there is always going to be a chance of a glance off, a frangible pin, a 20
pressure,
penalties.
Isn't it?
Of course. But that's, I feel, what will build the excitement around this weekend. It will be a pressure cooker. He is a calm, assured, confident rider. But this is the test that we're going to watch this weekend, because he is going to go late and he is going to be competing for a huge amount of money. Do you remember 2016, Nicole? Was it Blenheim 2016? Gemma Tattersall, hot favourite.
Yes, I do. Chica Bella P had a run out.
Yeah. Look, it can happen.
It can
Bettina
happen.
Hoy, was it Bettina Hoy coming home at Blair, that double of hedges? Hot favourite at the time. Oliver went on to take that leg and set up the Kilnabrad Nevo victory and ended up taking the series. It absolutely can happen. It is a small chance, but chance is what brings all of this emotion. Chance is what we will be sitting there thinking, I expect him to go clear. I expect him to go clear inside the time, but there is a small chance, because that's what it is. It won't be bad luck. It won't be good luck. It will be a very small piece on the chance variation scale, which dictates that it is there. And that's what brings excitement. That is going to be the really high point of this competition, I would suggest, for us, watching him go across country.
I have to say, even if Chris Burton is one of the last to go out on the cross country, and we know how quick he is, we've talked about that time and time again, but there's still that thrill of pressure breeds mistakes and things happen under pressure. And if nothing else, it will be an absolutely pulsating finish. So yes, he would be the hot favourite. I think we all agree there to take the series, but it is absolutely not over until it's over. Now, one person who is going to be really pushing him all the way is his closest challenger, which is Gireg Le Coz, who's on 68 points. Before we go on to talk about him in a little bit more detail, Bill Levitt, who was in equal first with Chris Burton coming into this final leg, is not actually in the lineup for Lignierés because Spike Shenandoah Titan, who has been a stalwart in the Event Rider Masters series, more appearances than any other horse, and probably than a hell of a lot of riders as well, has retired. You've looked after him during his career, but he has just been an absolute superstar for the Levitt family and the Prentice family, and he'll enjoy a well-deserved retirement. But my God, we're going to miss him.
Oh, hasn't he? I mean, he sort of, for me, defined what has been the ERM in that way, that you can have that engagement with a particular horse. And it's great that we got the top riders and they bring a different, a different horse each time. But I think a combination of him and also with Sarah Cohen and Trees, and they are absolute stalwarts of the series. And Alfie, as he's known on the yard, has been such a star. He is the kindest horse, and also the bravest horse that I've had the fortune to look after in my time as a vet. And he was looked after to the nth degree by the Levitt family. Bill's wife Jenny, it leaves no stone unturned with his management. The guys on the yard there, all the grooms, and Bill himself, they adore this horse. And the Prentice family, whose horses I've looked after for nearly 11 years since I joined the practice I'm in now. And it's been such a pleasure seeing this horse be so successful at this, literally at the highest level of the sport, and such a high level of competition. And, it's a shame that he's picked up a little injury that has meant that he's going to go and enjoy his retirement. But, 73 points on his own, that single combination going out, and that's, planning a season. That's getting the horse ready for one competition and then the next, and looking after him in between, and making sure that he can do the next one and the next one and the next one, and year in, year out. And that takes such dedication, time, and care to make that happen. And I got to give the horse a great shout out for that. And I think he'll be really missed. I think it's sad that we haven't managed to quite get him to the final event of the year, but he is very much enjoying his retirement at this stage, and he's a star of a horse, and it's been a privilege. So very much sad to not see him there. And I know that he would have performed to his best as well, and I think probably would have been competitive, and I think would have had a bash at running Berto Close, but
not to be
on this occasion.
And he will have a very happy retirement, we've no doubt. We should get Bill on over the winter, and we'll do a bit of a Bill and a Shannondale Titan special, because we've talked about them a lot over the last couple of years, and they've been huge favourites. In fact, if you go on to, I think it's on Event Rider Master's social pages, there's actually a video on some of their best bits in the series. So go and take a look at that. And no doubt we'll pay tribute to them throughout the weekend's broadcast as well. But he won't be there. So that means that Gireg Le Coz is actually Chris Burton's closest challenger. Now, a combination who total different end of the spectrum to those that we've just talked about is Esprit de la Loge. Now, absolutely catapulted onto the Event Rider Masters scene with a 6th place finish in Arville, was so impressive there, but then came out at Jardy and completely annihilated the opposition, finished on their dressage score 28.2 and actually took the win. So we're on top of the podium on that occasion. That is the horse's best dressage at this level of competition. They're going to need to produce that again here in Lignierés, but then they were top 10 in Mill Street as well. So that's where they've got their points from in those 3 legs. A real up-and-coming horse, and it's, I'm sure, one that the home crowd will be seriously cheering for. They're 3 from 3 clear cross-country in their 3 Event Rider Masters appearances. They've made the time once. Now, they average 31.9 from their 4 runs at this level in the dressage. Like I say, they're going to need to take a couple of marks off that in order to be anywhere near Chris Burton in the first phase, because he should be sub 30 with quality purdies. So he needs to stick as close to Chris Burton as he possibly can do. I'd be delighted to see him get on the series podium. Whether he can overhaul Chris Burton, I think is a tough ask, but serious horse and a really, really good one for the future. And it's kind of fascinating, isn't it? We've seen horses like Upsilon for Thomas Carlyle, and we're going to talk about Tom a little bit later on because he's actually back in the series this weekend. But horses like that as young horses, Santiago Bay a couple of years ago with Gemma Tattersall really catapulting themselves onto top level competition. And I'm really very much looking forward to seeing where this combination run on home soil. So yes, very excited for them this weekend. And I think he should be pushing for a 2nd place finish. There's a bit of a battle in theory between him and Jonelle, 1 point between them. Whoever finishes ahead of the other should finish
10
the
grand.
place on the podium.
A cool 10 grand separates them if it finishes that way on the series. So absolutely in their interest. I think when we talk about Nicole, the needs to get closer to the 28 mark, I would also say that on that day, they benefited from their fast and clear cross-country round. I would have concerns over the potential first phase score of this combination.
if you think back to their dressage test in Mill Street, so they were, I think, second into the arena. They had a really early draw, and the horse, I think it was a test of two halves. He just got a little bit hot. I think it was in the second half in the canter work. But just half of his test just let him down, and he still scored a pretty respectable mark. I think he got a 31.1. So I'm expecting them to be sub 30 this weekend. Very much so.
I am expecting them to be pretty much very close to their Mill Street score, 31. If you look at their 6-run average, it's 31.5. If you look at their dressage average over the last 12 months, it's 31.5 in around that mark. Looking back over those, they've had 3 Event Rider Masters in a row now. Arville, Jardy and Mill Street, 36.9, 28.2, 31.1. That 28.2 score was a really, they haven't been at the level that long, so you can say obviously they're best at the level. They've only had 3 runs at the level. 4 runs, if you include 4 runs.
Blenheim last year.
Oh yeah, Blenheim as well.
31.5. Yeah, in the 8 and 9-year-old class.
But basically all in around that 31 mark. And here's what happens, and here's the bit that I think is the only way I can see someone getting close and around Chris Burton, is Gireg Le Coz might get close. Gireg, sorry. He might get close, Nicole, but he's going to need to rely on his cross-country jumping and hopefully a cross-country time. I mean, again, that Jardy was a little bit of an outlier in terms of making the time. He has picked up time penalties in all of his other runs at the level and most of his recent runs. So if it's a tough time, Chris Burton is doing handstands. If it's not a tough time, Gireg is too far back in the dressage to make it up. So I just can't see it. And I don't see it on too much, but I'm just from a numbers point of view, he's going to need to do something silly in the dressage. And 31 average is a very good score for most horses. And I'm pinching myself here saying, well, that's not going to be competitive. And I guess it's just the nature of the Event Rider Masters, the standard that people are producing in that first phase.
I think we've got 12 combinations coming forward in the first phase that have an average or are expected to go sub 30.
Yeah, on board. I'm on board with D with this. I think he's not going to be quite close enough to get enough points to be competitive here.
The other thing I would just point out, I agree that I think it's a big ask for him to catch Chris Burton, but in terms of the series podium, he's got a lot to play for this weekend because there's still very good money on the series podium as well. The horse has never had a cross-country jumping penalty in his international career. Yes, only 15 internationals, but he's been faultless throughout. He did make the time in Jardy, one of, I think, only 2 horses to do it. He's up and coming. I'm going to root for the underdog here, and I'm going to say that Gireg Le Coz is going to finish second in the series behind Chris Burton.
Go on, you keep rooting, but I'm on Janelle. Janelle is
okay. Well, go on. Give us your argument for Janelle then, Spike, because she's 1 point adrift in 67 points.
I'd have her finishing ahead of Gireg. She's had the time now to build this combination with Gravine de Rev. She's got her Olympic qualification in July over in Campfire. So this has got to be a big aim for them. She's going to, properly let the handbrake off, really, gunning for the time. I see a dressage below 30, probably high around about 28. So might not be a million miles away from where Quality Purdy might do it. And I could see her finishing on it. I could see them both, her and Berto being on a similar finishing score. And I think that will have a good few places ahead of Gireg Le Coz, and that means second for the series, and a nice little check to take home.
I'm afraid you're also wrong, sadly. I am a big fan of Gravine de Rev, and I completely agree with...
Dee, did you just realise that you were disagreeing with Janelle and therefore you were scared? I think was what actually happened there. Like take a moment to realise. I disagree.
She don't frighten me, boys. No, I don't. She doesn't frighten me. No, I tell you what, Gravine de Rev is, I think, on a beautiful journey towards... as a horse, I think the development has been great to watch. I think Dan did a great job, and I think Janelle is continuing that. But I would go back to short format 4 stars. What we're seeing at the moment, a lot of Jonelle's success, I would say, is based on, certainly with Classic Moe, we saw it, they were always in around that 30 mark, but they were always competitive because of their speed. I think this horse is very similar on a 6-run average and on any kind of expected predictive metric that you want to look at in the first phase. I think Gireg Le Rev is on a similar area to Gireg Le Coz and Esprit de la Loge. I think it will be a brilliant battle between the two. And I think what makes the series so interesting, and the series, Nicole, we have it when we're in the commentary box and things are happening pretty quick on the cross country. I think it could be a matter of seconds which separate these two. I expect Jonelle is not in the 20s in the first phase. And I think Gireg Le Rev in a short format 4-star has the potential to pick up time. Again, I put that with the big asterisk next to it, that I don't know what a short format 4-star is going to look like at Lignierés. But I think these horses are very, very closely matched right now. Jonelle, obviously the much more experienced rider, but I do not see Gireg Le Rev being massively ahead of Esprit de la Loge. I think they will go into a battle potentially somewhere around 5, 6, 7 as to who finishes ahead of who, and every point
not
will
wanting to come on, D. I'm not wanting to take your 6-run average out. She's only run it cross country 3 times since she's taken the ride on. So your
6-run average is your dressage, is only your dressage spike.
Okay. But I mean, her time, her cross country time on this horse, her first time at Wiesbaden, where the time is tricky, 6.8 time. Jardy ERM only 2 time, and that was a tough track, tough track and not easy on the time. So I think she's got a strong chance of making the time here.
Go on then, Dee. So was your argument then that Gireg would finish ahead of Jonelle?
Not quite, but I don't see Spike's argument. Well, I don't see Spike's argument that they're a million miles apart, these two horses. I think their dressage is very, very close. And I think both their other phases are not a million miles away. I would think potentially that Gireg Le Rev could prove faster. I think we know Jonelle's experience cross country in terms of how she walks a track, the line she takes. That's all going to be very important. But
right, Dee, I know we've got to move on. But after taking 20 quid off your business partner before Blenheim, how about a match bet? Jonelle against Gireg.
Whoever finishes highest wins. You just disagreed with Spike, Dee. So you really don't have anywhere to go.
I disagreed with that this was going to be easy. Let me just have a look at where I have them both.
I'll take the bet. Yeah. Go on, take the bet. £20. Spike, if Jonelle finishes ahead of Gireg, wins, and if Gireg finishes ahead of Jonelle, wins. There you go.
I have them 0.3 apart, Spike, with Esprit de la Loge finishing 37.7 and Gireg Le Rev 38.1. I don't say that because I think one will definitely finish ahead of the other, but that's how tight it is. I think it'll be a brilliant series battle because I think they are neck and neck.
Okay, so they're the top 3 in the podium that are coming forward on the series as things stand. Sarah Cohen is the next best placing really to challenge for a series podium unless things go very wrong for a few of the others. She has 63 points. And she comes here, she was 4th in Wiesbaden, 9th in Oville, 6th in Mill Street. She'll still be ruining those 20 penalties that were totally out of character in Jardy that pretty much cost her the top of the podium that day. She should again run with a very, very solid performance.
The 20 penalties, Nicole, how can we get away from it? I mean,
my heart breaks, even just remembering it.
Treason let's just play the if game for a moment, but if Treason had managed to put points on the board as Jardy, looking at where he's picked up, 24 points at Wiesbaden, 18 at Arville, 21 at Mill Street.
Do you know the key thing here is if he'd have picked points up in Jardy, he would have been the only horse coming forward with 5 counting scores, and you can count 5 counting scores, which would have made him almost uncatchable this weekend. Sarah Cohen is going to hate us when she listens to this podcast.
She won't. She will
a little bit.
No, she won't. She was devastated as well. I guess, look, that again, it just goes back to the point we mentioned with Chris. It is a very small chance, but it is a chance, and that's what makes it. That's what brings that emotion. It brings that excitement. I'll tell you what, though. Treason's dressage has been outstanding this year. He has probably taken, I would say, in around 2 marks off his dressage, and he has done it a couple of times now. Last year and the year before, Nicole, we talked about how consistent this horse was. He was scoring in the old format probably very, very, very regularly between 41 and 43, pretty much with no fluctuations. He has gone on and continued that, but actually he's taken probably a couple of marks off it again. He's always fast, and he's almost always very reliable cross country. It's the show jumping rounds that we've watched. If we're going to watch Gireg in the first phase, if we're going to watch Chris Burton in the final phase, if Sarah Cohen and Treason can show jump clear, and it's a no guarantee. They have done it. They haven't done it in their recent rounds. I would say it's probably closer to expected that it's one down. One down will be very, very expensive this weekend, although I do think we will see poles down. It's a field that doesn't necessarily show jump clear all that much. But if I'm sort of guessing here, let's say Gireg was able to get in and around 7th position, and I would include Jonelle in that, somewhere in around that 6, 7, 8. Flip them around as you please. If Sarah Cohen gets onto the podium, so I'm giving her 3rd, she ends up with 89 points. 7th would get Gireg 88 points. Treason has a brilliant chance this weekend. Keeps the improvement going in the first phase. Will be fast and will be likely jumping clear across country. If we want to see Sarah Cohen walk away with Event Rider Master Series money, and she's done it before, I would say it is all going to be about show jumping. So I would say Sarah Cohen, show jumps clear, massive, massive chance of walking away with proper series money here. 3rd place, 89 points. And it buys her 3 or 4 places over those 2 who are currently sitting in those positions.
Well, I have to admit, I would be delighted for her, because just thinking back to Jardy and those 20 penalties, anything can happen. Even the most reliable cross-country horse can have penalties. That's what pressure does. And it, unfortunately has cost her a lot of series points, but she can still get on the podium. Okay, so the series is going to be tough. We're going to do our series podiums at the end of the show when we do our leg podiums. Let's talk about a few of the other leg contenders as well, because equal with 12%, so an equal first on the Echo Ratings Eventing Prediction Centre, both being marked with a 12% win chance. Chris Burton, obviously, who we've spoken about, and then Tim Price, Ascona M. Now, Tim, who actually won in Arville a little bit earlier on this year. That was with Wesco. Ascona M, the Lemoulan 5-star winner, won Tattersalls 4-star short format this level of the competition earlier this year as well. She's been 2nd in an Event Rider Masters leg before at Blenheim in 2017, was on the podium there, actually beat Chris Burton, who was in 3rd on that occasion. Top 10 at Barbary last year. She has a very good first phase average, so 27.1 from 7 starts at this level. Definitely expect her to be in the mid to sort of mid-late 20s. And she also is very reliable cross-country, clear 7 from 7 at this level. So she's a serious weapon for Tim to be bringing out. She's aiming for Poe. He told us that on the Windrush Equestrian Foundation special episode alongside Wesco. Derm, you're laughing in the background. Why are you laughing? I think she's got a great chance.
That's not a compliment when you call someone a serious weapon. She's what we talk about. She's a serious
weapon. That's a compliment. She's a weapon to come and... What does it mean in Ireland? Or is it not pod friendly?
Oh no, it's pod friendly, all right. I don't know, Spike, is this something that you say in England? Like if you described someone as, she's a serious weapon.
Okay, you two are just texting me dodgy emoji pictures.
I didn't text you anything. My phone's turned off.
Boys, behave yourselves.
A serious weapon is like, she's someone to be avoided. That's what that would mean if my friend said it to me.
Well, if you're the competition, you're gonna.
She's a weapon.
I think a serious weapon means that she is a threat to the competition.
You tell Tim that it's going to end the series weapon, and just see what he says.
I thought that was a compliment, but maybe
Tell
I'm wrong.
Jonelle
I mean,
she's a
I
serious
feel like
weapon.
we're going down a very dangerous rabbit hole, to be honest.
Okay,
here.
go on. I agree with you.
So I'm just going to say that Ascona M, I think, has a great chance. And actually, here you go. Bit of Event Rider Masters trivia for you. Tim Price making his 20th appearance at an Event Rider Masters. And he joins Bill Levitt as one of the most capped ERM athletes. There's two others that will also be making that group up this weekend. Who are they?
Tattersall?
Yeah, perfect. Gemma Tattersall also joining the 20 club. Spike, do you want to guess?
Townend. Love money.
Oliver Townend. Yeah. There you go. Loves the money.
Series winners.
Can I just briefly go back to Ascona M? I thought I'd just chuck in I watched them go cross country through the water doing an OI at Gatcombe a few weeks ago. Tim does an amazing job with this mare. Like, she's not straightforward. She's a bit lucky, and it's no great surprise that he's amazing, and he really is amazing, and he's almost even more amazing with the horses that aren't the most completely straightforward. And yeah, I sorry, I'm just going to chuck in an opinion in there, but he does a super job with her, super job with her.
I think she actually fell in the water at Po last year, actually, before coming out this year. The one other point I would make on Ascona M is she's one of few horses in the field, I can't imagine many others do, but has Lignierés form. So has been to Lignierés twice before, admittedly at the two levels below. So was 6th in the 3-star there back in 2016, and then ran in the 2-star last year just as a fun prep run pre-Po, and did a 26 dressage and obviously ran very steady cross country in the 2-star. So she's been to the venue a couple of times before. She'll know her way around.
That's a good point, actually, Nicole, because Tim and Jonelle love Lignierés. They go there every year. They love it, and they tell everyone French. That it's a wonderful event.
If he hasn't been Lignierés, it'll shock me.
Let's keep going, because we have still got so many people to talk about, and this podcast is going to turn into, listeners, you said between 30 minutes to an hour. Well, who knows where this one's going to end up. D or Spike, I can't remember which one of you wanted him. Michael Young, Star Connection, 10% win chance.
Yeah. I think you've picked look, we said it at the outset. If Chris Burton finishes in the top 3, he wins the series. Tim Price needs to help Jonelle out here, because I think you've Prediction Center has highlighted Ascona M, great chance, probably a dressage leader, and I think the horse that has the potential to challenge Ascona M at the top of the dressage is going to be Michael Young, Star Connection. We did see them go very, very low in Wiesbaden. I would put the caveat attached to that I'm sure Spike will come back with, which is that was Wiesbaden and Michael is German, and it was a day when we saw very low scores across the board, but that was 22.2. Subsequently, he's been 28.3 at Stragom this year, level below Jardy. In the other 4-star short, he was 26.3, 26.9 at Atkins. I would say your 6 ORA is going to be comfortably in that 25, 26 mark. He did last time out at somewhere, Langenhagen. He did a mad score of 35.3, which it's a long time. It's a long time since Michael has had a score like that on this horse.
Michael Young doesn't do 35s ever.
Yeah, it's rare that you see it. But it was last time out. You can never really tell, but I would be surprised if this horse isn't right there in terms of the dressage, very, very close to Ascona M. I don't think you're going to see Tom Carlile or Ingrid Klimka or Julia Krajewski style dressage test, so I think you're likely to see a leader in around that 24, 25, 26 mark, and he absolutely has the potential to be that. Very, very good cross country. Has he ever had a cross country fault? He's had a retirement and he's had 2 withdrawals, but other than that, he is approaching his 25th international with a completely clear cross country jumping clear record. He does pick up the odd bit of time, but he's also a fabulous show jumper. Star Connection with the halo on Michael Young. I think he will do a low dressage test, and I think he will probably finish on it. I think he's
that's a
Burton's main
bold
challenge.
call, D.
You're worried?
He's going for his 11th consecutive clear show jumping round internationally. Star Connection. He's a mega jumper. He's had the odd time fault, but he's a mega
jumper here. He's not quite as fast, but he's a FOD machine.
I agree 100%, D. I think the cross country time would be the one thing I would just pick up on this.
Agree. Guy. Yeah. Can't disagree with that. But I just, it's so difficult. I just have it's such a big asterisk to put on this. Who knows what we're going to see at Lignierés? Like it's entirely plausible that loads of them make the time. We can't rule that out.
You've been saying this a couple of times. Do you know something that we don't know?
No, that's the whole point. I don't.
Okay.
But what I mean is you've got to leave it there as a potential. And what's interesting about that as a potential, we have had tracks previously when we saw fields like this line up where 5 and 10 of them went inside the time. If that happens, these little tiny swings in the first phase are going to be critical. So whoever leads the dressage gives themselves the opportunity to not be beaten by finishing on it. It sounds basic, but that's why you have to go back to these first phase performers. That's why Asprey, De La Loge and Gravine de Rev are further down the order here. Because if you're talking about horses that can do 24s, 25, 26s, you have the potential to get Chris Burton beaten here. And I'm not suggesting that's what we want, but that is what makes this interesting first phase, because we will not know how difficult that cross country is going to be. So if you get Michael Young and Tim Price and Sarah Cohn ahead of Chris Burton, there's every possibility that the three of them will stay on their dressage score. So for me, Star Connection, sorry, Nicole, a wonderful cross-country jumping record, a fairly good dressage, enough to be in the top 3 for sure after the first phase. And I think Spike is right. The time penalties are a question, and we'll see how if it's a tough time, he'll pick up time penalties. He won't win. Chris Burton will win. If it's not a tough time, he can make the time, and I think he'll probably be a couple of marks ahead of Chris after the first phase. Boom. Putting him as my winner.
Putting him as your winner. Okay. The one thing I would say with if Star Connection wins, then he would actually equal Thomas Carlyle's Upsilon as the only horse to win 3 Event Rider Masters legs. So that would be a huge feather in his cap as well.
I'll chuck an FOD at you. I'll chuck an FOD at you while we're talking about it. We haven't done enough Brit chat here. Really interesting and pleased to see Tina with Billy the Red after his little indiscretion at the Europeans. And I would hope that she's going to be all guns blazing here. I think on a good day, he's a bit hot, and we all know that. And we all know that that's the thing that just people worry about him in his dressage. But when he's calm and he does a good test and he's got all the ability to do that, 26 to 28, and he can finish on it. And I think that'll have him right up there. And I would love to see that happen.
He's an epic show jumper, this horse, isn't he, Spike?
Yeah, amazing horse. And beautifully, I think we probably mentioned before, but beautifully produced by Catherine Robinson. And then Tina bought him as a 7-year-old, and he's been an amazing team horse for us at the Brits. And yeah, he's a great horse. Jumps, moves, gallops. He is not a Billy horse, as people might think. He's German bred. I can't remember who he's by, but I'm pretty sure he's got a lot of blood in him. I think he's by a thoroughbred stallion and from the German stud book. I'd have to check who. But he's a lovely type. Really, really lovely, proper event horse. And yeah. Let's go for it, Tina. Come on. Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's really interesting. So he's by Ballad de Rouet, who is the sire of Rev de Rouet, Sarah Bullamore's 5-star horse, who can also be a little bit hot in the first phase.
And who's he out of? Is he out of
He is out of FBW Simply Red.
And then not a mare I know well.
Good surely the plan there is... Sorry, go on, Nicole.
I was just going to say, the horse has only had 2 poles down in his last 20 internationals. So, you've been saying they've got to be as close to finishing on their dressage score. This horse, as Spike says, should finish on his dressage score.
Has to jump clear, cross country.
Yeah, I don't think Tina's going to be leaving anything to chance after the European. She is coming here to seriously prove a point, and I think she'll come
I would
and do
agree. I think she just trusted him a little bit too much to that triple
He was
brush, didn't he? All that
naughty
skinny.
at
Yeah, he was
European,
naughty.
but
He ain't getting away with that again, is he?
They did come off
she
at
won't be
Hartbury as
letting that
well.
happen. Hartbury was a freak thing. He had jumped the most beautiful cross country.
He stumbled on landing, didn't he? It was quite
He just pecked on landing
at the
and
last,
sort of threw her into the ground. I think he stayed up. The one thing I would say about Hartbury as well, actually, is only one person made the time that day. That was Piggy French, Crowcrest Echo, who actually went on to win. I would say that Billy the Red, if he hadn't fallen just after the last fence, would have made the time because he was motoring.
Yeah, I'd heard
and
that
he
as
looked classy. He looked really classy.
I would say there's a ensure that the wheels are back on track. Wheels are back on the wagon.
But they also
job
they
to be
need
done
to kind
here.
of put themselves, selection for the Olympics next year is going to be really, really tough. Ros Cantor All-Star B went out and won Ballon-Denisk at the weekend. They've got their 4-star long qualification under their belt for the Olympics. They still need a 4-star short or a 5-star, but they can get that in the spring. But, it's tough. You can't just be getting good results. You've got to be really, really getting great results to be selected. So I think she's going to come out here with a serious chance, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. I tell you who else we've not seen. Well, she's had a pretty up and down season, to be honest. Gemma Tattersall, who comes forward with Jalapeno. She's been on Event Rider Masters podiums this year. She was second in Jardy with Quick Look. Now, she comes forward with Jalapeno, who was a new ride for her this year, hasn't scored higher than 27.2 in their 3 international tests together, scored a personal best last time out in Mill Street, I think it was. And the one thing I would say for Gemma is if you talk about jumping Italy around, so Sarah Cohen, it is a pivotal point in her competition is jumping Italy around in the show jumping. Gemma has an absolutely incredible average across all of her horses in Event Rider Masters legs. So on average, she adds just 1.4 penalties from 18 rounds. I mean, I think from her 4-star level, I'm going to double check this because I saw it earlier actually. From her 4-star level, she has something like over a 50% strike rate of jumping clear.
Yeah.
From 110 runs at 4-star short, Gemma Tattersall jumps clear over 52% of the time.
Yeah, let me compare that with 2 of my favourites. Michael Young, what's he doing?
Michael Young has only 48% clear rate.
Exactly. Oliver Townend.
Oliver Townend has 39% clear rate.
Yeah, over a big number now. He's over 225 runs. But you're right. It's a standout. Karen Donkers is actually one of interesting because we're talking about Jalapeno. It's not Karen Donkers. It's Maxime Levio from 42 runs at the level 53%. You're absolutely right to pull that. It's really takes something special to be able to have a jumping clear rate above 50% from that many runs. I would also back it up, Nicole, with their cross-country jumping, which is also pretty special. I think Event Rider Masters, Sarah Cohn is the only person who has a better reliability rate in this field for cross-country jumping. I think Gemma is 89% from her 18 Event Rider Masters starts. So we did see a problem cross-country this year, but like Sarah Cohn, it's very rare. Gemma Tattersall is someone in the Event Rider Masters who you can rely on cross country. 18 starts, 89% clear rate. That's second highest in the field.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Now, one of the things we spoke about actually at the start of this podcast was the strength and depth in the field because we've got 10 former leg winners, I think, in the lineup. We've got 9 of the FEI World Top 20. We've got all 3 previous series champions in the lineup. And it is literally just like big name after big name after big name. We can make an argument for pretty much all of them. So let's just go through a few more of them. Spike, Alex Bragg and Zagreb come here having had some good finishes this year. And again, another combination that maybe have a little bit of something that they want to prove still.
Yeah, and they've got an awesome record, haven't they? And I watched them win the Gatcombe 3-star short, and the horse looks super, strong, fit, moving well. Granted at the level below, but I would say that Alex will have him finely tuned for this, and I quite fancy them. So you can move on to some other ones, and I'll quietly not tell you why I fancy it so much.
To be honest, I would say this horse has been in Event Rider Masters podiums 3 times previously, and I think he's going to pose, so he's going to be super fit. This will be a final prep run for him, I think, if memory serves me correctly. Now, one of the points of contention and perhaps some discussion over the weekend is going to be that Oliver Townend actually brings forward a former Alex Bragg ride in the form of Alcatraz, who Alex was 4th on in Jardy. A new ride for Oliver, literally taken over in the last couple of months. Had their first international outing at Ballindennisk at the weekend, and I think he's got a good chance of putting in a good result.
Alcatraz, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Oliver Townend is different class in my MIHO. I think he is.
MIHO, is that what the cool kids are saying?
That's what we say now.
Just
yeah, I was looking.
Acronym. We don't want people to tell us off for not giving us the acronyms.
In my humble opinion.
Okay, yeah, carry on.
Just one to watch. He's not going to be anywhere. He's a former champion of the Event Rider Masters. He hasn't really performed in the Event Rider Masters this year, but he is just seriously talented. And I don't like necessarily the circumstances perhaps in which it happened, but I think it is always fascinating to see a new rider take on a horse, just because you don't often get those comparisons, and it'll be fascinating to see him on Alcatraz, even just from a comparative point of view. I think Oliver's such a talented rider. It'll be interesting to watch.
D, I'll just quickly summarise it. Townend's a genius. He'll get on this horse, he'll take marks off its dressage and probably finish on it. And that's nothing against the job that Alex has done, and that's nothing. He's done it repeatedly on horses. That's
I tell you what. I think Alex. I think Alex will beat him. I think Zagreb will be on this podium here. I think Zagreb and Alex are brilliantly talented. So completely removing the Alex situation from this, because it's not, I guess, relevant in this situation. I think it, as you say, it'll just be fascinating to watch Oliver on a horse like that. He's a brilliant rider, and I think it's going to be one to watch. It's not going to trouble podiums. It's not going to.
It'd be really. You're right. Do you know what? It'd be a really interesting head-to-head. Just price that up between the two.
It's like its own little mini battle, isn't it?
It'd be brilliant.
Everybody saw in Mill Street how emotional Alex was. Everybody saw how talented the horse is. He was 4th in Jardy, and Alex gave him a super ride there. It's just almost adds an extra layer.
Zagreb well ahead of him, lads. Zagreb won't beat. Zagreb won't beat.
I actually really do like Zagreb for this weekend's competition, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Let's just skip through these last few ones that we want to mention. I'm going to say keep an eye out for Thomas Carlyle, Atos Can't Talk, Barbotier, who actually should have won Harada Pan. The Nations Cup, had a pole down actually, which cost him the win, but he had a really, really good run throughout the whole competition. I think he'd been pretty much the leader after dressage. He was on a 31.3, but they were really, really high marks. And actually, I don't think anybody broke into the 20s. I think he was 2nd, maybe after dressage, something like that. So he was well in touch. So keep an eye out for Tom. And actually, one thing I would say on Tom is that he has one of the best dressage averages in the entire field in Event Rider Masters legs. 26.3 he averages from his Event Rider Masters appearances. Admittedly, they are with a great upsilon, but still he is definitely one to watch, because he has as well the best OBP, which term is
opposition beaten percentage, still to be released, on its way out. But how many horses have you taken on? How many horses have you beaten?
Exactly. So he's beaten 79% of horses that he's come up against. And I think pretty much all of those horses that he didn't beat would have been RVL 2018 when there was heartbreak on the cross country. So yeah, keep an eye out for him. Good to see him back in a Masters class. And we'll hopefully get Tom on the podcast to talk about Le Lion d'Angers, the Young Horse World Championships in October. So watch out for them.
And I'm going to give you a bit of Japan watch. Kazuma
yes.
Tomoto, great form, super job at Blenheim, coming second on Brook Park Vicente, and Vinci de Levine, who we all know is an awesome horse, very fast horse, great results. And I think that, they've got their Olympic qualification from Campfire already. So another one that you could just see might, properly take the handbrake off. High 20s dressage, potentially finish on it. See how it goes. Kazuma's amazing. He's only been eventing 3 years and he's in the top 30 in the world. That is mental.
Yeah. This horse has finished on his dressage score in his last 2 internationals, including when he won in Campfire. And I think he was on the podium at Tattersalls this year as well. I would also add a little bit of, when you think of the fact this horse was actually part of Team France at the World Equestrian Games last year, coming back over to France to compete, just gives it an extra little spice. But I'm looking forward to seeing them in a Masters class as well. Okay, 2 others to watch for you. One being Felix Volgan Calero, who was so impressive in Jardy on their Event Rider Masters debut, finished 3rd there, and also Arna Boito and Coriano, who were 5th in Jardy, just off the podium, just behind Felix. And this horse, an incredible jumper. I think the best show jumper in the field. So keep an eye out in particular for them in that phase, because they will climb in the jumping phases. But I really like the horse and looking forward to seeing them. Big shout for the home side. We could, honestly, listeners, we could talk and talk and talk through this field, because there's all sorts of top names. There's the likes of Andreas Dabowski, FRH Butts Avedon. You've got Tom McEwen, Figaro Van Het Broekhoff. I mean, we've not even spoken about Chimney Sweep. He was second at Chatsworth on this horse a little bit earlier on this year. Phoebe Locke has a very exciting ride in Picador, who actually is a horse, if my memory serves me correctly, gave Maxime Livio his best ever Event Rider Masters finish with a top 6 finish at Bramham 2016 in the first ever year, the second leg of that year. So a good ride for Phoebe. Who else have we got? Christine Bates, Adelaide Hill, who've had a huge amount of success over in Australia. Brilliant to see them making an Event Rider Masters debut. And a dark horse to watch in Millie Dumas and Artistique. So the list goes on and on. So we are just going to have to put who we are going to win. So Spike, I'm going to come to you. I want your series leaderboard. I think I know what it's going to be.
Start with leg, Nicole, because then that will affect the series.
Okay, go on then. Go with your leg.
Going with my leg. I'm going to go with... right then, I will back GB. Come on, Tina, with Billy the Red. Love the horse. So really? Tina to win, Mickey to come second, and Berto 3rd.
Okay. Dan?
Michael is going to win.
Yeah.
That brings him... I'm going to do both at the same time, because Michael going to win. That brings him to 62 points. This is tough for me, but I think Tim Price or Alex Bragg come second. Doesn't really matter which in this particular situation. It does, obviously, to the prize money and to them, but I'll just say for now, I think it'll be Tim Price. Ascona M. What I've put in here is I think Sarah Cohn is going to come 3rd.
Right.
I think Jonelle is going to be 5th. I think Gireg is going to be 7th. And I've just done this on the kind of mad small chance that I think Chris has a problem and finishes in 14th position.
Oh, what happens if he finishes in 14th position?
Now, if he gets into 14th position, he actually still ends up with 86 points. But if Sarah Cohn and Treason hit the podium and Jonelle hits the top 5, they would both be on 89 points. Gireg gets into the top 7, he gets 88 points. Chris Burton pretty much finishes anywhere in the top 10 on those positions, which I don't think are unreasonable. He's going to win this. If he got into the top 10 with all the others finishing there, he would get 90 points and win. But if he had a problem and he ended up in midfield, he's off the podium. I'm going to say for the laugh.
I was just
Nicole, are we actually letting him do this? Are we letting him do this?
We're just humouring him. But I would also say, listeners, that if somebody has 20 penalties cross country, they do not get any series points. So even if they're in the top 15, they do not get series points with 20 penalties.
Okay, well then he will be well off the podium.
I think D is stuck in some yoga position, running out of blood supply to his head. He's not eaten for 3 days. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, gang. I was trying to inject a little bit of
I think it's
excitement into the series. It is possible, very possible, that we'll see Jonelle or Sarah fight it out here at the top of the podium. All things going well, Chris Burton is on the podium and wins. Star Connection and Tim Price join him up there. The prediction center doesn't lie. That's what it's telling us. So yeah, look, if you want the obvious answer, go with that. If you want the excitement, late on in the day, Nicole is looking at me, open mouth, screaming. Chris Burton's just had it glance off. And suddenly, it's Sarah Cohn and Jonelle.
Just imagine, right? Listeners, if you could get like a spy camera on us in the studio during the last few going cross country, Derm normally ends up with an armful of bruises because I smack him so many times. There's a lot of jumping up and down. There's a lot of arm waving. But if that happened, it would just be totally out of control.
It would be like the treason situation. That was a jaw-dropping moment.
It was. Okay, I will give you...
I'm lost. What did he pick? Like, what did he actually pick in there?
Oh, God, Spike, stay with it. Obvious answer, it's Michael Young, Tim Price, Chris Burton. Bit more excitement. Chris Burton has a 20 and Sarah Cohn and Jonelle are at the top of the series leaderboard with a cool 30k in their pocket.
Amazing.
Well, they'd go down a flipping... there'd be like a tie-break situation, but yeah.
What would that be? Be amazing. What could be the tie-break?
Trust me,
they have to fight.
The rules for the weekend. They don't have to fight. Right.
That's in Sam's mind.
Oh God. Right. On that note, I'm going to say that my podium is Michael Young, Star Connection. In second is Tim Price, Ascona M, and in third is Alex Bragg and Zagreb. My series podium, I actually think Chris Burton will win. I think Gireg Le Coz will be second, Jonelle Price third.
Nothing for Sarah Cohn. She's definitely going to get there.
I would love to see her on the podium, but she's got a few points to make up, so something has to go wrong for one of the others.
I'm Berto Jonelle Cutty for my podium.
Nothing has to go wrong. Like, Jonelle and Gireg just perform as normal, and she'll be faster. Doesn't have to go wrong.
Okay. Well, do you know what?
Getting the podium.
Do you know what, listeners? You need to tune in eventridermasters.tv over the weekend to find out exactly what does happen. We will be with you every single step of the way. And it promises to be an absolutely fascinating conclusion to the 2019 Event Rider Masters series. Guys, it has been a pleasure. I mean, I think we've gone places in this podcast that we never thought we would go. But on that note, thank you. Spike, always a pleasure.
I'm going to be very much following as a fan. I am up at Osberton from tomorrow in the rain in my caravan, and I will hopefully be getting a bit of insight in who's going to win the Leon this year by watching the young horse classes there. But yeah, following ERM really closely. Can't wait to watch it happen.
And I will see you over in Lignierés.
See you in France with a suitcase of probably hot cream cakes that you've taken from Britain, no doubt, as is your thing for Event Rider Masters.
Suitcase of hot cream cakes.
Well, she always takes cakes for people, no matter how far the distance or how hot the boot, as people are aware. So look,
you talk some rubbish. I will never bake you any baked goods ever again.
See you soon,
fine.
Nicole.
On that note, listeners, thank you for listening. Tune in eventridermasters.tv across the weekend, and we look forward to what will be an incredible finish to the 2019 Event Rider Masters series. Thank you for listening to the Aqua Ratings Eventing podcast. This podcast is available for free on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you usually listen to your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Find us at eventingpodcast.com or search Eventing Podcast on social media.